Okay, got it.
Today's date is 6/27/2022. We're lucky enough to have Senator Michael Braun here to be at the Evansville Wartime Museum, and this is the Hoosier Spirit 2, the P-47 in the background. We will see more of Michael Braun in a few minutes. And they had a, it's a lead plate there to prevent protection, but they modified. There's a modification plan. We got a front part of this bus, but this is what the P-47 has above all the later models from 43 on. This is what the plant looked like. We brought the Pratt Whitney. These are all 1934. We didn't make it much far.
And this building was where? That's a big building. Okay. Million square feet in the wall. So that's the building that was built. Yes.
So these are our big donors, Credit Union, Wayne and Beth Kinney, and Bill and Mary Stone. Bill and Mary Stone have also given $34 million to our medical school here to help with psychiatry in southwestern Indiana. So that'll make a big difference. And I just talked with the team today, Dr. Becker, and we have the number 2 psychiatrist in the country here. And he's in Indianapolis right now. It's probably not here in Park here, but he's going to help with mental health. And if you're a senator, you know how much of a problem that is in our country. But we're going to make a difference, and we're going to be the
18,000 pounds fully loaded. Okay. Original mission was up to okay, 18,000 pounds, 2,000 horsepower engine, gas. And it couldn't stay with the bus.
Yeah.
And the Germans knew that. So what they would do is they'd hang back and they would set it be long. Then they would attack the formation. Exposed. And then when they knew they were going to be in the aircraft, they were this high, they were this fast. And then the 51 took over that mission, and the 47 ground preference. So rookie pilots would forget their physics. And a body moving in a straight line, 10 was in a straight line. And they were
45 short meter. You stretch that one finger and go around the world 3 times at 75,000 miles per hour. If you could make 100 bullets a minute, it's the Revolution War. They made that about 2
that, the Thompson machine gun takes 45. The 1911 ball takes 45. They also made half of the 30 caliber. And then the grease gun. And the only thing with the machine was the red oil. So they were dirt cheap.
So when we made all these bullets, then we packed them in those boxes and sent them all to Europe. And they were in a small box, like back over here, this box. We sent them to Europe, and the boxes, and everybody was happy in Europe. We went and sent them to MacArthur, he didn't like it. He says they're exposed to elements. So he had somebody put them in a can like this. The guy from Boston High School and UV graduate created that patent. It's like a tuna can, so it's away from the elements.
Yeah, if you're in the South Pacific, it's very corrosive, and you're dealing with steel. And they put it in a watertight, airtight container. They repackaged today.
So this is the old Chrysler building, and it was a savior of our city. In the Great Recession, those green doors came out of the original Chrysler, and that's what it looked like over there in the 1940s.
On the inside, looking out.
It's Escalade Sports right now, and Escalade's going to have a tour here in the near future. They're the biggest exporter of ping pong tables. They also make grills. They just bought a water ski company. These 3 pieces of equipment came out of Whirlpool, out of Republic Aviation, their workshop. They're original. They were at Banner trucks until about 5 years ago, and then Cummings picked them up parts of them out. They're all still operating.
Yeah, that's a 4-sided saw, so it's really rigid, and it doesn't crack like a banner saw. It's very accurate.
What they did, it's unbelievable what India did.
Yeah.
Okay. In Bucyrus here, my grandmother worked there, but we've had that donated. If you can't do an industrial infrastructure without energy, so they with a backhoe, they're not backhoe, but the drag lines to create energy.
Seen them often in Warren County.
They're right.
38
and 14. So these are the guns, the Browning automatic, and they run in a roll right here. So you'll be able to look up there. That's what you call all 9 yards. When you pull the gun, it lasts 23 seconds on the whole. And then you better get on because you haven't got anything up. But that's a big size place. You know, guys are big guys like it in there. Good guys. That's so when I was 99th birthday, I put him up on that right there. He had to do that. It was 2 months later. There's your bullet. Just had a backpack.
Mark, yeah, that's like good.
Mark, you all gonna let him get in here, please? Yeah, he can get in. Let him get in.
All right, here we go. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. Perfect. Thank you.
You gotta get a cushion here so he can sit in here, but he gets the plane. That's where that term all 9 yards.
All 9 yards.
And there's 270 gallons of gas right here, and it's a self-refueling for 2 layers of rubber, so one penetrates. None of the others had that. And this is everything, all the other
This is the experiment with the trainer. You know, the original design, they had moved the landing gear out. And the government said, yeah, that's too easy. Let's do it again. They were very good. They want to shut down. So they worked it in.
This is the hardest thing.
So whoever can do it.
He's screened murder. Here's the headlight view for a while now. This is a Servo original figure. One moving part. There's the gas down there. I'd be absolutely amazing. They got out of bowls and everybody had another picture. But this one down there doing the same thing. But look at that. It's original. We just got it here last week. It looks all right. I'm pretty damn good shape.
Sitting, yeah.
They said they used it until recently. Keep the beer cold.
Yeah.
This is Two Men Unknown Soldier. And we got that from the Coliseum. They were getting ready. I'm a member of the 40 and 8. I think there's something on the CC where it said about 50 and 8. 40 and 8 is just like the American Legion, just like the VFW. And but nobody knows about 40 men or 8 horses. Now they would go into a train in France. So that's what 40 and 8 is.
That's where Party came from, because they would be, he had one of those.
They came down. Your Jack, when you got the train, they came down for a talk here about 2 months ago. It's Alan Steckler and his son worked for that food company.
Yeah.
OFF.
Party in 8 club, they asked for the actors. They'll be at the parade. We always shoot off a loud cannon blast.
And they look like a train. And they had a train.
Yes,
Now,
that's what it looks like.
we have General Pershing's car. It was supposed to be here. It's a limo that made 1914 factory. So we had it. It was supposed to be here, but it wasn't. We have a soldier named, his name Gresham. He got the first gold star ever. The gold stars didn't start till World War I, and that's when
Do most states have a counterpart to this in their states? Like a war memorial? Or is having one unusual?
I can't answer you. There's 248 war museums in the United States.
Okay.
But, you know, a lot of them are rinky-dink and some of them
Yeah.
are probably better.
And with the setting of a hangar like this is
Yeah, but some of them got them all crammed in and they got a lot of other things.
So then we moved from that war to the Korean War. It's all about a soldier in the Korean War, and in the back is the things that industry made in Evansville during the Korean War. Spent a lot of time on that. But they made lots of parts for the Korean War. Behind that, they made a gun. We can show you, but this is one soldier. We got all his stuff named Galster. His wife is still living, so we're going to interview her in front of this because saver of the war.
this gallery around is sitting there.
Now this is the gun they made for the This is the one that Pat said World War I, World War II. And one grade, it'll pop you for 300 yards. All those other ones will pop you from 100 yards, 300 yards. I mean, you're not safe anyway. And they made them 300 at 300,000.
Yeah, so that's International Harvester, which was made in the Republic Aviation Plant in Korea. So if you have an International Harvester M1, there's one left up in Holland in the gun shop. And but it's International Harvester made.
Dave's gun shop up at home?
Yeah.
You got one?
We have two.
What'd you have to say?
No, I was going to say exactly that.
Okay. And then we have, if you know, there's a reserve center named after General Connolly. General Connolly is a reservist in National Guard, and he went to U of E, lived in Henderson. He's still living in Washington, D.C. He's about 85 or 90. Jack and I've had lunch with him a couple of times. But these are two soldiers here in from the National Guard that put all their stuff up in Vietnam. There's very few National Guards that were really active. Most of them were support. These guys are out in the jungle dropping down on the parachutes. One C. Larry Rose, the other's Mike Cates, and they were instrumental in getting us these two exhibits. The guy that's a probation officer in Evansville is named Greg Combs. These are all actually from Vietnam soldiers, so that's pretty rare. We've got a helmet, we've got some of their armor thing, and this is all from Vietnam soldiers. Nobody would collect that to use the collection that they had themselves.
You got to get a bad military hat.
Staff sergeant. Think this would be a good time to,
Yeah.
I think it would be a great time.
so we got an addition
You
for
wanna-
your museum.
You want to step up here, sir?
Yeah. So it's honoring the 50th anniversary of the return of the Indiana Rangers. And Senator Young got on this resolution with me. And I'll read a little bit of it here. And the part that is most notable. Whereas the lineage of the 151st Infantry Regiment of the Indiana National Guard dates back to the formation of the 2nd Regiment of Indiana Volunteers in June 1846. And then they're talking about its time spent in Vietnam. And I want to come down to, whereas the Indiana Rangers were the only Army National Guard ground maneuver unit to serve in Southeast Asia, whereas the Indiana Rangers earned more decorations during their year of service in Vietnam than any other Army infantry company during a one-year period, our Indiana Rangers. So this is for you to display here to honor that regiment, and was happy to do that resolution. Senator Young is on it with me, so.
Thank you. We had a lunch here, and ahead of that, Larry Rhodes talked for about an hour.
Okay.
And they had a whole reunion. They had about 15 of them here, and they talked forever, and they'll just love that. You know, that's here.
Could we get you guys to stand up here with the
Yeah,
senator and
come
hold
on
that
up.
resolution in front, and we'll grab a quick picture?
Yeah.
Why don't you get in this red jacket? Nancy, get up here.
I can imagine.
Come here, come here.
Yes.
Hop on in there, Miss Nancy.
Sure do it.
Let me switch the photo here. Okay, you can look at him
You're good.
first?
So I'm sorry, you go ahead. You're more important than I am.
Okay, all right. We're gonna look at me,
On
and
three.
we're gonna do it in 3. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. Thank you.
You bet. My pleasure.
That'll be put right up here.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
Well, those guys will love it. Wait till then. We have to tell them today. Oh, thank you. Wow. We'll walk a little bit more and show you. I know we said a half an hour, but we got a little bit more. Give us a time.
Yeah, we've got about another probably 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
Yeah.
All right.
And then, Senator, before we leave, we're gonna shoot a quick video.
Okay.
To kind of help them promote the museum.
Okay.
Oh, great. Another Bossy graduate gave us all that stuff. And that's all a lot of Vietnam things, but a different flavor. Guns.
Looks like it was maybe lucky that it didn't get any other damage other than that.
Didn't get the passage. You might have got the passage.
Say, show
This model.
Show them the flight simulators before you leave.
Yeah, we're going
Oh, by
to walk through
I tell everybody that 50
World War I
caliber.
room and see what
Senator?
it is.
Tell everybody that 50 caliber for the young and the young at heart. The picture.
Yeah, exactly.
Right there's a doughboy, not very many of them
Yeah.
left, and we found the Ohio
That is
River,
a neat.
all copper.
all
And these are
copper.
two Funkhauser boys, both lost in World War I. There's a Funkhauser post on the west side. Very
So you
popular.
cover from World War I through
We're going to go back to 1898, go back to Civil War, and go back to Revolutionary War. That's
You
what
will
we
be
call
going back.
War Museum. That's what
Yeah.
we're calling. We're going
So
back.
currently, you've got coverage from World War I
Through Korea.
through
Vietnam.
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 Yeah.
But we're working on
I'll mention that in
Afghanistan.
the video, and that you're
Now,
gonna add Gulf War stuff
Yes,
too, eventually,
absolutely.
and you're gonna go back to the Revolutionary War.
Absolutely.
gentleman in Spencer, Indiana, created those. And
No
there were
kidding.
playgrounds all over the country. And like
We
Mark
may
said,
do that video right here,
Right here in front of
because
them.
I think that is something that'll show where you're currently at, and I'll talk about going back through the Spanish-American War, Civil War, and to the Revolutionary War. War of 1812 in there too, I guess.
Of people from southern Indiana
Yeah.
and northern Kentucky,
Yeah.
Illinois.
Okay.
that was originally down in the riverfront, Sunset Park. 37 flood came, went away,
Yeah.
stayed away for several years. They found it downriver.
Let's go ahead and we'll do the
Okay.
video right here.
I remember.
I'm on.
We're very fortunate to have Senator
Oh,
Mike
wait,
Braun.
just a second
Okay.
here.
Okay, you guys started this.
Okay. Go.
We're fortunate to have Senator Michael Braun here, U.S. Senator, here at the Evansville Wartime Museum at 7503 Petersburg Road in Evansville, Indiana. Michael, a few comments about what you've seen today?
So the pleasure of this job is that during recess weeks, I'm home. I travel the state, come to Vanderburgh County often, but my dad was a tail gunner in a B-17, and I walk into a place like this, find out that Evansville per capita was the biggest manufacturing town that built the materiel that enabled our brave soldiers to win that war. So they've got memorabilia from the doughboy of 17 all the way through the Vietnam War, intend to add memorabilia in the Gulf Wars and even the wars preceding. So for any Hoosier watching this, and even from outside the state, what a gem we have right here in our own backyard.
Thank you. Appreciate that. We're awful proud of it.
Well, you ought to be, and I'd recommend Hoosiers come down and visit. They've got easy hours, and you've got a real treat here to see what the bravest have done and the heritage behind it, and all the civilians that contributed to making World War II a success right here in Evansville, Indiana, carried a heavy load.
And I'd like to do a little video with Nancy and Forrest in here. Nancy, come on, just you say something else. Forrest and Nancy. Nancy, just because it may be behind the plane. I mean, she's
Wanna do
her
that over
husband,
there?
because her
Okay.
husband's the plane. Forrest and Nancy, and you could talk about Nancy's husband, Young Wynn.
I'm on.
So here with Nancy Sanderson, and her husband flew 118 missions and survived it to tell the story. Would you like to share some thoughts on some of the things that he was most dear to him about defending our country in 118 missions?
Well, he always said if you wanted to come home after you fought, you wanted to get into P-47, but if you wanted to get a girl, you use a different plane. So he loved that story. We'd always go to Air Corps reunions, and I said to him, "Don't you know any stories? Everybody else talks about that." He said, "Oh, that was past. I did my job, and that's all I cared to do." But he enlisted as soon as he heard that the war was on. He was in Roanoke, Virginia, where he grew up, and he enlisted right away. He had to climb a few hoops, but I think he did lie about the chart, the eye chart. I think he talked to some guy before, said, "Could you tell me something about that?" And so he memorized the eye chart to this, and he got his driver's license at 99 because he still remembered the license. Anyway, it was he loved being in the service. He would have stayed in to make a career, but he was an only child. His father had a heart attack, and he felt like he needed to go home and take care of his mom. So they missed out on a good guy for higher up the ladder. So it was.
And he lived to be 99 years old and passed away this past January.
Yes, he died in January 21st, and the best thing about the death was that he got to be shown here in the museum, which was his life. He would teach high school with Donna Bone. They would go all to other high schools
And flew this kind of plane.
and flew this kind of plane. So, as
Amazing.
Dr. Browning said, once you got home from the service, everything was a piece of cake.
Forrest, who's from Mount Vernon, Indiana, he kind of runs the place. It looks like he's got a lot of good help. And you want to tell us what's special about your job, and then you can explain this as well.
Sure. So I've been started here just a couple months ago, but I've learned so much about the story that Evansville has to share, about why it was so important, what we did here, and how we can tell people about our story here. But I just want to thank you for this resolution about the 50th anniversary of the 151st Airborne Rangers of the Indiana Rangers. Thank you for the resolution for you and Todd Young, and I appreciate your time here.
My pleasure to be here. Good meeting you.
Thank you very much.
Want to show you one more room and then we'll
Okay.
free you up. Okay, one more room. Windermere Drive.
You know, Kansas Road, we get to see activities of bulldozers and
Yeah.
trucks and no cars. That's pretty quiet, except during the day with the workers out there.
Yeah.
The road is being raised up like that. New cars.
Did the trucks in the street go all the time?
We left our two. I was hoping to save all four of them. I got two saved. And then there are two houses next to me, the Davises and the Harvids. They refused to let them